Hello, let me ask you an honest question. Did anyone actually teach you how to handle money? Or did you grow up watching money control people's decisions and emotions? Most of us were not taught money. We absorbed it. We absorbed fear. We absorbed pressure. We absorbed manage it till month end. And now as an adult, you're wondering why money feels heavy, even when we earn more. Here's the hard truth. Most people don't like hearing. Motivation won't fix your finances. You can be inspired today and still make the same money mistakes tomorrow. Why? Because money problems are rarely knowledge problems. They are identity and system problems. That's why I created the Money Click program. Not to teach people how to hustle harder, but to help you understand why you do what you do with money. Okay, hello everyone, and good afternoon, and welcome to our YouTube live sessions that we have here on Thursdays. Sorry that we are here a bit late. We had some issues with the connection. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to all the billionaires in the house. Shout out to all the billionaires. I see NK Pretty. I see Black Mysterio. I can't see Pastor Akinyelu, but I saw her post in the click before I came on here. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Welcome and welcome to Mrs. Emily Sarangonomo. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Welcome to everybody who is here today. Right? Happy to have you. Today we'll be looking at something that is very important. We're looking at discipline, right? We won't just be looking at discipline as just discipline. We're looking at discipline through systems. We're looking at how to remove temptation from money, right? How do we remove temptation from money? How do we discipline through systems? Just right before I came on to for this, I was in the communication course in the TIP where Coach Wendy was talking about, you know, s- how to structure the environment so discipline emerges automatically. That's exactly how it is with money as well. When you have systems, when you have structures put in place, discipline happens automatically, right? So, in addition to looking at how we're going to set up systems to enable discipline thrive, we look at how to remove the temptations that can affect the systems that you decide to set up, right? How can we remove the temptations? So, welcome to this session, everyone. And remember, if you're here and you're not subscribed to our channel, that could be the first thing that you would want to do right now is to click on the subscribe button and become a part of this YouTube community with us. And also, you could give us a like and most importantly, share this live with your contacts, get other people to come and learn. When we say get other people to come and learn, we mean it because people really need to learn. I'm going to share something with you, with everybody here today. So, in the Money Click program, we always talk about blueprints, right? In the Money Click program, talk about blueprint and the need for us to rewire our blueprint for the sake of our children, especially. If we're learning, if you're an adult learning here today or learning every day, the most important thing about your learning is not just about you, it's about the person who will learn from you, who model after you, and that's your children. So in the Money Click Kids program, we had an exercise recently where, okay, I see you, Pastor Akijelu. All right. So in the Money Click Kids program, we had an exercise recently, an activity that the children had to go through, and it also had to do with them identifying their mindsets, and their money identity. More like realizing their money blueprint. And we asked them, what are the things you've heard about money and which of them has stuck most with you? And you know that phrase, money is the root of all evil. A lot of them mentioned it. A lot of them mentioned it. And you would wonder, you would think that the children that were having children of generation, children who are 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, you would think their mindset to be different, right? You think they will have a different blueprint. But unfortunately, a lot of them still have the same blueprint that we have. Why? Because we are not changing our own blueprints, right? Greetings to you too, madam. Um, your name has run out of my head. Um, Admin, remind me. From Ireland. Mav, let me focus on what I'm teaching. Your name just ran out of my head. Just Madam Linda Oko. Exactly. Ah, I'm not old, please. Okay, all right. Welcome, Madam Linda Oko from Ireland. Okay, so as I was saying, so we went through that blueprint class with the children, and they were mentioning exactly the same things that they get away from, right? Exactly the same things. And the thing shocked me. And I just thought to myself, only if people could actually how much their blueprint is telling on their children. Only if people could actually realize and see how much what they are not doing is shaping how they see money, is hearing that money is the root of all evil. One of the things that I've heard about money is that, oh, there is no money. Money, all those things that we also heard. We also heard. I greet you to Black Mysterio from FCT Nigeria. I greet you too. We are here together. I greet you too, ma. I greet you too. And Madam Lucy Iloka, I greet you too, ma. Welcome. Welcome. Okay. All right. So we need to take our financial literacy journey seriously because I have a particular blueprint, and I'm also dealing with a set of children who have this exact same blueprint. So it means that something needs to change. It's proof, it's direct proof that if we don't change our blueprint, our children will absorb it that way. The question is, what is your blueprint? And we don't need to lie to ourselves when it comes to what our money identity is. We need to be honest to ourselves, right? If we don't get it right, then we're going to make the same mistake with our children. And we cannot make the same mistake with the kind of knowledge that is accessible to you to share this life to somebody so that they can come and learn. Please share. Share it. Get someone to come here and learn today, right? People need this knowledge. A lot of people are not winning with money, not because of anything, but it's first because they don't even have the knowledge, right? They don't have the knowledge. They don't know what to do. A lot of people don't know what to do. Okay, so get people on board in this life for them to understand what to do. So we're going to get into the discourse of the day. And discuss today is discipline through systems. How to remove temptation from money. Try harder. If you know what, try again. Right? That is a part of it. But in reality, discipline means designing your life so you don't have to fight temptation every day. That's part of what discipline is. Because a lot of us have tried discipline in the sense of willpower. You tell yourself you are going to save money. This you got pumped up. This year I will save, right? Instead of doing that, and after 3 months, you fall back to how you used to behave before. Set up a system, right? What we're trying to say is that discipline can't, you don't have to be fighting the temptations. If what you're using as a form of discipline is just willpower, right? There is every tendency that you will yield to the temptations at some point. So you need to design your money system in a way that the temptations don't even get to you, right? So if your money decisions are dependent on willpower or any other thing, then be sure that things like stress will eventually get to you. Be sure that fatigue will eventually creep in. Be sure that peer pressure would shatter that willpower. Peer pressure will shatter. Emotions will break the table of the willpower to be nowhere to be found, right? Because the reality is that in the system where we are, in the climate where we live in, pressure will always come. Especially if you're in Nigeria, especially if you're an African, you always have money pressure, right? You always have money pressure. So you need to build systems. Like I would always say, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, right? And one of the reasons why willpower fails, right, is that it's emotional. Willpower is emotional. All that pump up of, now this year, I will do this. January, you're still strong. February, you don't dey go down small. By March, some people don't even get to March. By March, a lot of people who shout, I want to invest. By March, they're no longer talking about it. They're no longer talking about it. And it's because their decisions, right, are based on willpower. That's why. It's based on willpower, and willpower is emotional. Willpower is inconsistent, right? Stress will deplete that willpower. That's why by March you're already getting tired of it. That's why people can't stay on when they say, "Oh, New Year resolution." People make New Year resolutions every New Year. People can't stay on their resolution because they don't have systems to keep them on it. When you don't have a system to keep you in it, you will fall out of it. That's the truth, right? Because your resolution is all willpower and it's emotional. So it will become inconsistent, it will be depleted by stress, it will be hijacked by your environment, right? But when you have systems are automatic, they are neutral to your emotions, right? Systems are predictable and they're emotion proof. So you need to rely on systems. A lot of times people rely on motivation, right? People rely on motivation, but disciplined people rely on structure. I'm going to tell you something about motivation, which is part of what we're going to be looking at in our class coming up next week. Remember, we have a course coming up next week, right? Self-discipline. That course is free for all billionaires, all the members of the Money King program. It's free for them. And for those coming from outside, that course goes for 15,000 naira for those who are coming from outside, right? Now, one of the we're going to be learning will be motivation. How to replace discipline for motivation. And how you do that is through systems. Here is what motivation does. Let's say, for example, you walk in a place where they decide to bring somebody to come and give you a talk, right? On the first day of the talk, everybody will be pumped up. Everybody will be motivated. You see people that I'm sure it has happened to a lot of people. Even sometimes when we watch certain programs or when we watch certain motivational talks or even watch a movie, sometimes you get that kind of motivation. Sometimes when we go to church, we get that kind of motivation. You see people who used to come by 10 a.m. to work, right? And they start coming early. Or sometimes we get that kind of motivation in church. People who used to come um, by by come to church, let's say 8 o'clock service, they arrive by 9, they start coming by 8. But if you depend to maintain that early this thing by just willpower alone, with time it's going to dwindle. With time you'll get tired. With time the motivation to go early will no longer be there anymore. With time the motivation to be in church early will no longer be there anymore. And that's why what you need to push you to achieve is not what comes from outside, it's what comes from inside. That's why in church they talk about the spirit of the gift of the Holy Spirit. If you don't have the Holy Spirit in you, nothing will push you from the inside to maintain the temple. The same way when it comes to money, you don't have a system that you built around you. You don't have any, you won't have anything to keep you in place. So after a little while, you will fall off the wayside, right? So part of discipline is putting structures in place. That's part of discipline. Discipline is not just willpower alone, right? It's part of is putting structures, having a system. Because the truth is, if you're coming from indiscipline to discipline, you can't become disciplined by just willpower. Remember, for discipline to become what it is, then it must become a habit. But how do you make something a habit when you're the direct opposite of it? You need repetition for something to become a habit, right? So let's say you want to start saving. You've never been saving for a very long time. And all of a sudden you're pumped up. Maybe you attended one of our courses and you say, I must save for the sake of my future. I must save. If you don't put the system, your habit of not saving will override everything in a matter of time. Your willpower cannot survive your habits. Now, what a system does is that it keeps you in place long enough to change your habits. That's what it does for you. It keeps you in a place long enough to change your habits. Right? So, in putting the systems in place, most times a lot of people forget that people think systems are proof, right? They're like iron, nothing can penetrate. So, around them. And that is the reason why sometimes systems fail. And people look at it like, no, systems don't work. Nothing has worked. Nothing. I've tried that will make the system not work. So removing temptation does not mean that, oh, you're going to be living less, right? It doesn't mean that, oh, you will never. That's not what removing temptation is. Removing temptation means that making bad decisions becomes harder, right? You make good decisions easier. Reduce emotional exposure to your money choices. Now, let's look at practical ways that we can remove temptation. Because setting up the system is not the problem. A bigger problem to the system is that, right? So, number one way that we can, one practical system that removes temptation for us is to separate your money physically, right? Separate your money physically. Those in the Money Click program, we always talk about this a lot. If you're not in the Money Click program, I don't know why yet, right? But remember that we've opened up. Yes, in case if you're just joining us, we've opened up the March cohorts of the 2026 Money Click program. The pressure is too much. It's almost like throughout our days of advertising, people did not hear us say, come and join January cohort. Now the pressure is on to join the present. A lot of people might not be able to cope with it. So we have to open March cohort. So we don't leave anyone behind, right? So we'll have a March cohort of the Money Click program opened, and it is starting on the 29th day of March 2026. So watch out for it. All right, watch out for it. Okay. So I said in the Money Click program, we would usually say that one of the best methods of budgeting, right, that you can ever use is envelope method. Now, what the envelope method does for you is that it helps you separate your money physically. You see, when all your money is in one account, temptation is high, as in over high the worry, the temptation, right? over high. So you have one account, multiple things. It becomes difficult for you to track. It becomes difficult for you to put restrictions. It in physical envelopes, then you can easily track. You can easily discipline. When you have it in one account, it's easy for you to forget that you might be spending money that you don't have. Right? On the other way, you can decide that you don't want to do it physically. You can set up multiple accounts. The problem is that sometimes multiple accounts you get confused. Which account is for which? But it's doable. You can set up multiple accounts. You can set up sub accounts in a main account. You can have salary accounts where your income comes in only. You can have a spending account where all spending for the week goes through. You can have a savings account. That savings account, you tell yourself you're not going to have a debit card on it, right? Remove every form of debit card on your savings account. That is the temptation to your savings account is the debit card. So if you have an account today that you want to dedicate to saving alone, remove debit card from it. If possible, if there is a bank notorious for wasting time, right? Put the money in that bank. So that when you think about the stress of going to the bank to withdraw money and succumb to one pressure that is pushing you to bring money for something that you're not supposed to put money in, right? So that's one of the ways. Have another account for investments, right? For those in the Money Click program, we're going to talk extensively about investments. And this year, we're going to bring you even more options of more accounts, right? So you need to ensure that you have separated money for different purposes. Budgeting is not just about why a lot of people fail with budgeting is because the budgeting comes without a system. All we do is we actually do the budget of how we want to spend the money. But drawing from one account, you probably have budgeted just 100,000 in a month for fueling your car. But because you're drawing from one account, you might eventually end up spending 200,000. But if you had a separate account for it or had an envelope for it, then by the time you've spent 50,000 in that month, in the first week of the month, and your fuel is already going down, you will tell yourself, I need to reduce my movement too. I think I need to streamline my movement better to be able to economize fuel better so that I can fit in within my fueling will fit in within my budget. But when you don't do that, it means that you are not running with the system. So a budget without a system is going to fail. It's going to fail. It's going to fail. When you have a system where your money, you're helping your money stay disciplined, you're putting it in different accounts or different envelopes. Once your weekly money, let's say your weekly spending money finishes, for example, you know that that's it. You know it's done. You know that that budget for that money is gone, it's finished, right? No, there's no emotional just one transfer. Just help me. If you know you budgeted money, let's say 100,000 for giving. Let's say you have a separate account that you give people money from. When that 100,000 naira is finished, you know it has finished for the month. If you have an envelope for it, while you give it out, when the money is finished, you know it has finished. You can see it there that it has finished. You can see it that it has finished. But when you make it in a way that everything is accessible, right? When you can easily access money from everywhere without accountability, you will easily spend. But if you can't easily access it, you won't easily spend it. And that's why we say things like your savings account, put your savings account in a place or in an account where you don't have a debit card to easily withdraw the money, right? So that you don't have easy access. You don't have easy access. Okay, so you don't have easy access. So it helps you. It helps you. And thank you, Madam Emily, for that. This Emily says that the emergency account is set up that way, no card, and both of them are signatories, right? And the bank is in another town. So before they withdraw, they must both duly agree. And that's perfect. That is a system. That's a system. If not, if you don't do it that way, everything will become an emergency. See, when you don't have systems, everything becomes, even things that are not what's calling emergencies become an emergency because there are no systems, because we didn't set up systems, right? Another way, another practical system that removes temptation is to pay yourself first. We can't say this enough. Pay yourself first, make it automatic. Make it automatic, right? So if your savings, I will say this, if your savings depends on what is left, it will fail. And a lot of people, that's what their savings is dependent on. A lot of people's savings are dependent on what is left. When the money comes in, they spend, oh, and then by the time they feel like, I think we've spent enough, what's remaining? They take the remaining and they put inside. That's savings for a lot of people. But that is saving upside down. That's not saving with the mindset of paying yourself first. It's not. It's not paying saving when I say. So if you must save with the mindset of paying yourself first, then you must set out the money for your savings first. And to avoid thinking, to avoid emotions getting in, to avoid impulsive decisions that will make you change your mind, make it automatic. Setting up automatic transfers on your bank apps these days is not difficult, right? Just go set an automatic transfer to another account, right? That account that is difficult to go and get money from, set an automatic transfer to that account every month. Let's say you want to be saving 100,000 naira every month. Set it. Once, put it at a particular point in the month, right? Of course, you know when your salary or your income comes in within the month. So put it that, oh, at certain time, you're sure that the money for the month has come in, right? Or income for the month has come in. Put it on the next day or even on that same day. So on that same day, money for savings goes out automatically. It's not waiting for your decisions for it to move, right? It's not waiting for it. You can also save this, do this for your investment account. For those in the Money Clip program, we're going to go deep into how you can begin to set this up for your investment account this year, right? So that every year, every month, your investment is on autopilot. You're not asking yourself, you set everything up. The good thing is that all the investment platforms you're using have incorporated this method, right? Almost all of them. So all you need to do is, as the money is coming into your account, it's going to the investment platform. The investment platform also is automatically investing for you. Automatically. So no decisions are required. Because it is in making those decisions that I remember that somebody called me from the village. Oh, they said they need money for one urgent issue. How will I not? I'm a Christian now. How will I not help somebody in need? How? Now, so savings go. You know, we save 1 naira. I'm not saying you shouldn't help people, but remember, I'm saying help should be with boundaries. It should be within what you can afford. You should have a budget for it, right? And once that budget is exhausted, wait till the next month. I will say this over and over and over again. If you must create wealth for yourself and your immediate family, you must be selfish. If you're not going anywhere. Let's move on. Number 3 is to use time as a discipline tool, right? Impulse spending thrives on immediacy, right? Again, impulse spending thrives on immediacy. Okay, so the system you can set up is to have a 24 to 72-hour rule, right? And what is this? This is a rule for non-essential spending. A rule for non-essential spending. When that spending that you know that is impulsive to you comes up, tell yourself, let me give it 1 day to 2 days. Write it down. Wait 1 day to 2 days. Ask yourself, after 2 days, ask yourself, do I still need this? Do I really still need it? Revisit it again. And you see, in most cases, the urge to buy that thing disappears when you give it time. Once you can delay the immediacy of yielding to that thing you want to get, the urge disappears. Even within 12 hours, you realize that I actually didn't need this thing anymore. I actually never needed it in the first place. Sometimes it's just that impulse. So, time is a good system. Time is a strategy, right? Time is a strategy. Time is a tool of discipline, only if you know how to use it, right? So, delaying is a way to use time as a tool of discipline. Number four is to create friction for spending. Create friction for spending. What do I mean? You know that convenience fuels bad decisions. Yes, convenience fuels bad decisions. So take out the convenience to spend. Uninstall the shopping apps. Those shopping apps that you know that they will always tempt you to buy. Shane, AliExpress, right? Those ones that you know that they would make you buy and buy and buy. Uninstall them first. When you really, really need them, use another means. Maybe get them on your laptop and put them on your laptop to buy what you want to buy when you need them. But you see, phone, anything on your phone becomes easy access. So you need to be mindful what you put on your phone. You need to be mindful what you put on your phone. Exactly. Temu is one of them. Temu. They come with a lot of temptations. A lot of temptations. Temu is one of them. In fact, those ones, their advert is, they want to kill us with adverts. They want to kill us. Yes, so I want to call your names now. They want to kill us with adverts. So remove the apps, please. Just take away the apps. Take away the apps. Stop giving yourself convenience. You're just you're creating a highway to the bad decisions. Right? Another way you can do is removed saved card details. You see some of those apps that you have where you saved your card details. Remove the card details, unsave them, and leave the card somewhere. So when you're away from home and you open the app, even when you want to buy, you can't buy because the card details are no longer there. Remove the card details. Remove it. Right? So take away the card details. That is one way of creating inconvenience of those apps for you. All right? Then another thing you must try to do, which is one lie we always tell ourselves, is browsing just to check. I just want to check something. You just want to check. Let me check if this thing is available there. Why are you checking when you don't want to buy it? Why? It is from checking if it's available. Then you now start saying, this thing looks like it's nice. So now, so you don't buy them. Before you know it, it's in your cart. Before you know it, delivery is on the way. And by the time it comes, you realize that I actually didn't need this thing that I bought. Right? I actually didn't need it. Okay? So that's another way. Another way you can try to avoid impulse spending is by setting daily and weekly transfer limits. This will also help you. Set the limits to only what you have budgeted and a little extra for emergencies for the day or for the week. By so doing, you know that you won't be able to. So, if you know that you need a certain amount of money for the day, right? And then you set your limits to that or a little extra for emergencies, right? You know that if you go and buy something you don't need, then it means that you've affected your whole program for the day. And that is inconveniencing. And that would push you from making those decisions. Push you from making those decisions. Right? So is that window shopping is the problem. Window shopping is the problem. Let the window shopping start when you want to buy. That window shopping is the problem. That's the problem. Let me just go and check. Let me check the page and see what they have. I know sometimes um my wife does this a lot, and she'll say she just wants to check their page. Let her see that she just want to see what is available. I said, don't check, don't see. From seeing, she will not say, but this looks nice, so I think we need this. I said, we don't need it. The fact that we've been doing without it means we don't need it. You only needed it because you saw it. If seeing it will make you need it, then you don't need it. The things you need, you don't need to see them on a shop. You don't need to see them in a shop before you know you need them. You don't need to see them first. If you need it, you will go straight. If you need a pot right now to cook, you don't need to start going through to find out. You will go straight. The first once you get into the app, you go straight to pots. You go straight to pots, right? And pick what you want. But when you know that you don't need the pot, that's when you go and say, let me check out pots. You don't need a pot. You already have a pot. You have a pot already. You're looking for something different and all that. Exactly. And the ones that are doing promo, all the promo, it's all to your promo for things you don't need. You know, sometimes people buy promo, but people buy things on promo for things they don't need. They say, it's cheap. They don't know when they'll see cheap again. God, our emotions will kill us. People go online and they buy things that, why are you buying this thing? They just want to buy it and keep it. They don't know when it will be this cheap again. And how are we even sure it's actually cheap? How? Right? Are you sure it's not just a marketing stunt on you? Right? Okay. Let's move on. The fifth, yeah. So for the fourth one, which is to create friction for spending. One thing is that if spending feels slightly inconvenient, temptation reduces. It's clear, right? Number five is budget with boundaries. Budget with boundaries, not hope. Not hope. A lot of us don't budget with boundary, budget with hope, right? So a budget without limits is just a suggestion. If there's anybody here that has budgets without limits, right? Just just say I have a suggestion in this in the comment box. What you have is not a budget, you have a suggestion. Just type in the comments, I have a suggestion, right? If you have a budget that does not have limits, then you only have a suggestion. What do I mean by limits? You have different categories, money capped for different categories. You have money capped for food, money capped for transport. You have limits for personal spending. You have limits for giving. There must be limit for everything. There must be a certain amount of money you will not spend on food in a month. There will be a certain amount of money you will not spend on transport. There will be a certain amount of money you will spend on personal things, items, on giving. So once each category is exhausted, you stop spending, right? You stop spending. That's structure. But if you do not have the structure in that way, then you do not have a budget. You don't. You have a suggestion list. That's what you have. Suggestion list. It's not a budget. It's not a budget. So okay, I see a comment here. Um, I see how men and women shop is different too. Okay, it's men who shop directly who buy one thing and then the things that they go. For me, those things that may go with them is as a result of that impulse, emotional, everything that is making you buy. Those those things that will go with them, they were never meant to go with them. You were convinced by the app to make it go with them. In fact, sometimes the app will bring the suggestions. They say you bought pots, you didn't buy spoons. But maybe you don't even need spoons, maybe you have spoons. But you now feel like it's true. How can I buy new pots and it doesn't go with new spoons? It doesn't make sense. You're not buying new spoons that you never ever wanted. You know, and it's human behavior that they use to program some of these apps because they know how humans would want to go. Yeah, I think I agree to an extent that women tend to want to spend more time shopping and all that more than men, probably. But I think there are still men who also spend it this way. It all depends on how we've been programmed, but we can do it differently. We can do it differently, no matter how or where we're coming from. And that differently is just hold yourself. Even your mind is telling you just open the app, open the app, open the app. Tell yourself no, 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 no. If it's too hard to say no, delete the app from your phone. Just delete it. Take it off. Take it off. You must put in those systems. If not, we'll find one way or the other to succumb to it. All right. Okay. Okay. So, like I said, when it comes to budgeting, you must put boundaries. You must put boundaries. You can't say you have a budget for giving. Your budget for giving in a month is 100,000. By the end of the month, you spent 400,000. Why? You can't solve everybody's problems. You can't. So you need to have a cap for it. Have a cap for it and stay true to it. Stay true to it. You can't tell yourself, I want to spend on myself this month. I want to spend 200,000 on myself. And by the end of the month, you spend 400,000 on yourself. That is not discipline. It means at first, you never had a real budget, right? You never put a cap on what you should spend. So you need to have limits for every spending, limits for everything, right? Because when we don't have limits for our spending, that's when we tend to overspend. Um, 30 days return. Yeah. So you're convinced. So you convince yourself that you can always return it, but you will never return it. You will never have issues, and you even feel tired of going through the return process. You just keep it. You will not return it. Thank you very much for sharing that. Ma. Thank you. Right, budgets, right, and stick to it. That's discipline. Number six is protect yourself from social pressure. Right? Protect yourself from social pressure. What's the social pressure? The social pressure are things like weddings, burials, birthdays, village obligations. Oh, December travel pressure. What's it called? Naming ceremony. So, so someone came to me one day, and the person was spending more than 300% of their income, more than 300% of their income. On a certain month, what the person did was do naming ceremony for the child. See, when it comes to money decisions, logic has no place. It is all emotions. I want to give. How can I not give my child the best? How can I not give my this my second child? I give the first one very good. This my second child. How can I let me do? I did the naming ceremony for my child. I'm not sure. I didn't really have to spend much because I wasn't even ready for all that drama. I wasn't ready for it. The naming ceremony for Mona Chinsu was just me, my sister, the husband, and two more friends. And that was it. No other person came. Didn't invite any other person. I wasn't interested. Sometimes we put ourselves under unnecessary pressure. Have I told you about my wedding? Oh, I haven't told you guys about my wedding. My wedding is the simplest, less pressured way. We went to church, we were dead, right? We came home and we had good meals at home with family and a few friends. That was my wedding. Because even before my wedding, I had told myself that I didn't want the pressure. And it's the pressure that comes with the whole ceremony thing of how it has to be that is making a lot of people not want to get married in the first place. Right? So I refuse. Thank God my wife is not here today because she's in one engagement. It took me 6 months to convince my wife for us to have the kind of wedding we had. 6 months, but she couldn't imagine it. What do you mean? You mean we're going to have a wedding and there's no reception? Where does that happen? I went into research every day for 6 months, right? Or maybe every two days. I used to send my wife articles about weddings that were done without reception. just to convince her before we got married. I did that until it became a conditioning. Of course, I teach conditioning a lot, right? I teach programming. So I programmed my wife. She didn't realize this every day to see that it is normal. It is okay to have a wedding without a reception. It's okay to, so I kept sending it to her every day until it became a normal. And when the time for the wedding came, it was no longer an issue. So this is one of the things that we need to do. We need to protect ourselves from social pressure. The social pressure is one of the biggest. I told myself, this is what I told my wife when we're talking about um, the uh, the reception and all that. So I told her, which one is better for us? To have a very wonderful reception, or that as we're finishing our wedding, we're moving into our own house? She said, our own house, but that's the emotions coming in there. By the time we were done with our wedding, we moved into our own house, just like we planned it, right? It doesn't mean that, oh, you have to forfeit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that that was the option we gave ourselves, right? Because we wanted to get something that we felt was more important for the home and not just the wedding, all right, that we wanted to build, So if you can take away then you're going to put yourself on a good pedestal with money, right? A lot of us, most of the times, will attend weddings that we ought not to attend just because of pressure. That was not all weddings we're supposed to attend. It's not all. Yes, okay. So Mrs. Emily says celebrities don't help us at all. The true lavish events. This is also a lesson to be intentional about who and what influences our decisions. Yes, because what people see every day in front of them are the kind of what has become the standard for a wedding is that, oh, it has to be a certain way because of what people are seeing on social media. Social media, celebrities, yes, they are influencing how we get to see things and see life. And that's the reason why we should be careful who we follow, what we hear. It is conditioning. If you keep following people that tell you every day that this is how this should be, you will come to accept it as truths. Those in the money clique will understand this when it comes to programming. Verbal conditioning does not stop, it continues all through your lifetime. All through your lifetime. Every day when you come here and listen to me, I'm verbally conditioning you, whether you like it or not. Right? So every time you go on social media and you're following a particular person who is telling you things that is against your faith or things that is against your financial goals, they are conditioning you against your will. So we should be careful who we follow, what we hear, what we see. It's important. It's very, 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 very important. Very important. In fact, it's the conditioning that makes us even yield more to the social pressure, right? Oh, you want it to be a certain. I'm going to tell you a story. I told this story before sometime last year, right? So it was a friend or a colleague more so. So this colleague, the mother-in-law was sick for a while, and the mother-in-law, she was sick for a while. They spent a lot of money in the hospital. She didn't survive. This woman eventually died. By the time the woman died, this guy was already in a lot of debt. The mother-in-law gave birth to an only child, which was his wife, and they loved her so much. So when the woman died, people called him. I called him too, and I said, "Why not just quickly do the burial? Do it with what you can afford now, and get over with it, right? So that you begin to have closure and all that." He said, "No, no, impossible. His wife's only surviving parents. Oh, not possible. Oh, he loved this woman so much. They love her so much. They will give her the wedding she deserves." Right? They will give her the weddings she deserves. That's how those people. The wedding was like a carnival. No jokes. The wedding was like a carnival. They had, I can't count the number of cows they killed on that day. For what? It was not for the woman. That's the truth to tell ourselves. It wasn't for the woman. They did it for themselves and for their ego. Because he was the kind of person, he's the kind of person that thinks about what people say. I have what people come to. Before the wedding, let me now tell you, before the burial happened, he he went to the wife's place, renovated the house, a house that nobody lives in. Till today, nobody lives in that house after the wedding, after the burial, sorry. Why? Because of what the thing people will say. Social pressure is a thing, right? And a lot of times we yield to it. We yield to it. So, and there are certain things that trigger it for us. You see, weddings trigger our social pressure, burials trigger our social pressure, birthdays trigger our social pressure. Sometimes we throw birthday parties that are not essential, right? Okay, I see this a brief explanation for burials, especially when we are making contributions to relatives. Now, thank you very much for this. Thank you very much for this question. Especially when you're making contributions for relatives, contribute only according to what you can afford. Contribute only. I'm not a an advocate. I'm not an advocate of expensive burials. No, I'm not. So if you have a budget for that kind of contribution, right, make it small so that it will go round. Since maybe it's as if in our society, the people die every day, make it small so it will go round. The most important thing that you contribute, you won't bring all the money yourself, but just contribute something, right? But the thing is, even in that contribution, social pressure creeps in because sometimes we want to be the highest contributor. Sometimes we want to be, let it not be like I've contributed 5,000, let me give 50,000. Sometimes the competition gradually just creeps in, even when you're doing contributions for family. That nobody, it's not about, even without anybody saying anything, right? You sometimes you'll be like, all the people that are contributing, that I'm not in that category now, let me give 20. Probably your budget is 10, and that is where you should stick. Stick to your budget, right? So in that, exactly, ego creeps in, ego creeps in, ego creeps in. So we need to be very careful because all these situations trigger us to spend more money than we're supposed to spend. You want to be the biggest contributor in the family so that they will look at you like, oh, you're the biggest person in the family. No. Or sometimes they even call you for contributions that you know that you can't afford to contribute. You must not contribute for every contribution, if I may put it like that. You must not put money for every contribution. There are times the contributions will come and you can't afford to. Tell them you can't afford to. Oh, I'm in a financial position where I can't afford to do anything right now. And it's that simple. Honestly, it's that simple. It's not obligated. That's the truth. It's not obligated because these things would always come up. And whether you contribute or not, the person will be buried. Right? So we'll move on. So you need to protect yourself from social pressure, right? December travel is another social pressure that comes. Okay, village obligations too. They will say, this year is our masquerade. I know people that they don't miss masquerade, whatever it is that's happening in the village, including contributing money for it, New Yam Festival, even when they can't afford it. So these are the kind of pressure, social pressure we should stay away from, right? And how you avoid this pressure. The system you set is what I call the pre-decided limits. That's how you protect yourself from social pressure. You have pre-decided limits. What does it mean? In January, you're going to decide how much you're going to give for anything, how often you will give it, right? What you will say when you're asked. What you will say when you're asked. See, a plan decided in peace protects you in pressure. So when you decide in January how much you're going to give, if anybody comes to you and say, we're having a burial, how much? You say it's 5,000. Stick to your 5,000. How often will you give it? You can tell yourself, I'll give this 5,000 only 4 times in a month. When it's exhausted, tell yourself what you're going to say if you're asked. Say it before time. Plan it before time. Oh, I've exhausted my budget for the month, so I'm so sorry. I would have loved to contribute, but I really can't do anything right now. You need to pre-decide before time. So this year, decide how much you want to give for any social event. Decide if you attend social events and for whom. You can tell yourself this year, if it's not for an immediate member or a very close friend that won't be there for any reason. Decide now. This is when you're going to decide. You need to have pre-decided limits. You need to have limits, right? Tell yourself, oh, how many weddings are you going to attend this year? Tell yourself, how many village obligations are you going to attend? How much are you willing to give for it? If you don't have any money to give for it, tell yourself before now, before that time comes that, oh, I won't be able to do this thing this year because I have two other things to do, right? Today, in this January, you should already know if you're going to travel for Christmas or not. It is not in December that you're going to decide. You should decide now based on your income, your plans, what you want to achieve for the year. Will it be feasible for you to travel home for Christmas? Tell yourself now. You need to decide today. If it's not feasible, you will know from today, not tomorrow. All right. Okay. Then number 7 is you need to introduce a cooling off account. You know, create a small buffer account for emotional days. So instead of I deserve to spend, you redirect it to I'll fund my buffer. Right? I'll fund my buffer. Okay. So anytime you feel like you want to put out money, create an account where you dump that money instead of putting it in something that won't do anything for you. Right. Number 8 is to track weekly and not monthly. Right. When you track monthly, when you track your expenses monthly, you're very much likely. I'm trying to rush to finish because time is almost is against us. So track weekly and not monthly. So when you track monthly, it's already too late. You've made the wrong decisions already. But when you do weekly money check-ins, you can tell yourself on time what came in, what went out, what needs adjusting. Have short feedback loops to improve your discipline. Number 9, you make accountability visible, right? Private discipline is very hard. Okay, so have accountability, have an accountability partner, have an accountability group, have an accountability coach, have an accountability community, right? So if you're not in the Money Click program, Money Click is that accountability group for you. Get into the Money Click program now. Number 10 is align systems with identity. So systems work best when they match who you are becoming. So let's say I'm someone who plans, right? I protect my future. I don't negotiate with impulses. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. So become the person that you want your system to fit into. Become that person you want your system to fit into. So discipline is not about depriving yourself. Okay? It's not about depriving yourself. Okay, I'm going to come to this question later. It's an interesting question. Discipline is not about denying yourself, right? It's about protecting your future from present emotions. So without systems, people will struggle, income leaks will happen, stress will increase. But with systems, peace grows, progress becomes predictable. Money stops being emotional, and that's why the money click also is also built around self-discipline, right? It's built around system-based discipline and not motivation. Because the truth is that you don't become disciplined by resisting temptation. No. You become disciplined by designing a life where temptation has less power. So the question is, are you in a system where temptation has less power? Have you designed a life for yourself where temptation has less power? A system is how you get to do that. You do it quietly, you do it consistently, and you do it sustainably. And this question says, even during pre-decisions, prices of things increase before the year end. What if prices of things reduce, Mark? Yes, it's true that prices of things increase, or can increase before the year ends, right? And that's the reason, that's where the planning comes in. That your planning doesn't mean that your planning is rigid. You also make it very flexible, right? Make it flexible in a way that you even account for increase if it happens. I'll give you an example. You want to travel by Christmas, and Christmas usually things are high. One thing you can do is to purchase the things you want for Christmas before Christmas. That's early planning. Another thing you can do is to even have a better budget to accommodate, in case things change. So if what you need for your travel is 150, you can decide and you tell yourself, I'm going to make plans with 250, just in case things change before that time. If things change, it fits in. If things don't change, yes, you have excesses that you can move to somewhere else. But it's all about planning, right? When you don't plan, you are punished. Christmas will punish you when you don't plan. When you don't plan. When you plan, for example, you could even book your flights ahead of time. When you don't plan, you book your flights on the go, and you're going to pay three times the price for your flights. So there are a lot of things that you get to achieve when you have pre-decisions, right? That's when things and that you're pre-deciding also doesn't mean that it is cast in stone. As you move on, you see what works, what does not work, and you adjust according to the realities. For example, if you pre-decide in January that you're only going to spend 10,000, for example, 10,000 naira on food, right? 10,000 naira on personal expenses. I'm just using fictional figures on personal expenses. Now, by the time we get to March, the price of things might become so high that 10,000 will no longer accommodate you purchasing food for yourself. What will you do? You do budgetary adjustments. So every month you should be able to do budgetary adjustments. What you do is you look at probably the money for your personal items and you tell yourself, okay, there are things that I can cut from my personal items and move the excess money to food so I can be able to afford for food because of the inflation of food items. So we must be able to always, and that's why I said we must be able to revisit, our budget every week, right? Track every week, and then so that we're able to make plans and adjust as time goes on. Nothing is cast in stone, but you adjust and move as time goes on. So that's where we're going to end this for the day. If you have any more questions, this is the time to bring it so that we do not keep you any longer. Any other questions, we'll be happy to take them. Remember that come next week, on the 3rd of February, we'll be having our Mastering Self Discipline course, right? It's 15,000 naira for outsiders. For Money Click members, it's absolutely free for them. It's a whole 3 days course. And if you're a Money Click member, trust me, this is not a course for you to miss. Like I would always tell you, discipline is foundational in money management, right? Next month is the month of money management at the click, and we can't start money management classes without first touching self-discipline, right? It takes mastering self-discipline to master financial discipline, and it takes mastering financial discipline to master money management. It is key, it's integral, it is not optional. Everybody should be there, and that's why it has been made free for all Money Click members. If you're not a Money Click member, you get to pay 15,000 naira and join us. And if you're not a Money Click member, this is also a call for you to come and join us in the 2026 March cohort of the Money Click program, starting on the 29th of March 2026. My name is Chukwuemeka Onyenezi. I'm the founder of the Naira Academy and your world-class financial planner. This is where we draw the curtain for today. Remember, we're always here every Thursdays by 12, and we're on social media, Instagram and Facebook on Wednesdays by 12. On YouTube and Facebook sometimes on Thursdays, but on YouTube every Thursday by 12, we are here to learn one or two things about money. Thank you so much for joining us today. To all of you, we are very grateful. Please do well to share this to other people who will need this information. Thank you.